Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And I got to go into this story about last Friday's devastating tornado that touched down in the city of St. Louis, Missouri. And fortunately and unfortunately, I am in St. Louis. So this is the first time in my life, after 57 years, that I have borne witness to what is considered a disaster, an earthly disaster, a Mother Nature disaster. We've all seen them on TV before, and you might be touched by one from a distance, but to live and to go through one of these situations is just deplorable, sad. You feel helpless and hopeless, and you don't even know where to begin. So I want to go into the story and tell you what the mayor is saying. The sirens did not go off when the tornado hit. Ironically, they had done some testing of the sirens even the day before, during the week prior, and the sirens went off. But unfortunately, when the tornado hit, the sirens did not go off. And the city of St. Louis, the mayor's office, City Hall, has some explaining to do. And in many of my videos, this is a cautionary tale where everybody gets all worked up, especially over this past presidential election when you had Trump trying to come back and Kamala Harris running on the Democratic Party side for the November election. Everybody gets worked up over the national elections, but they fail to pay attention to their city and state politics. And here in St. Louis, it's very important. And now to know who your city and state legislators are and how are they going to handle this devastating tornado that destroyed St. Louis City and North St. Louis City in particular. They're talking about $1.6 billion worth of damage and over 8,000 buildings destroyed. And my house and some of my property have felt the effects of this traumatic event that has taken place. So I'm even going through it personally. So let's get into this story. North St. Louis residents outraged after human error blamed for siren failure during the tornado. Mayor Kara Spencer said Monday that outdoor warning sirens were not deployed properly before Friday's tornado due to confusion over who was responsible for activating them in such a situation. In those minutes before the warning and the time that we were experiencing a massive weather event, there was a failure, a human failure, a failure in protocol to get the sirens up and running, Mayor Spencer said at a news conference late Monday afternoon. Mayor Spencer said under a policy put in place in 2021, it was not exceptionally clear about whose roles and responsibilities it was to do what. She said she has now made it clear that the city fire department will have that responsibility. From this point forward, the fire department, with whom I have the utmost confidence, is doing that work moving forward. Asked by a reporter if it had been unclear previously whether the fire department or the City Emergency Management Agency, CEMA, CEMA, had the responsibility. She said under which circumstances, yes, it was not crystal clear. A button wasn't pushed and the sirens were not deployed, she said. Asked if any sirens went off, she responded that she didn't know yet, but that it's clear that the sirens were not deployed in any way, that they should have been. Spencer called the news conference held outside a firehouse in North St. Louis to address the concerns that myself and St. Louisans and the people across the region have had about the city's sirens. Let me first and foremost say these concerns are valid. They're real, and I share them. Asked if anyone had been disciplined because of the siren failure, Mayor Spencer said we are still evaluating that, but didn't elaborate. Spencer said the buck stops with me moving forward. Fire Chief Dennis Jenkinson attended the news conference but did not speak. Sarah Russell, who's the city's emergency management commissioner, was not at the event. So she's the overseer of the individuals who were supposed to push the button for the siren. That is the city's emergency management commissioner, Sarah Russell. Russell, at a news conference Saturday, has said the city put out a tornado watch alert hours before the storm to the 200,000 or so subscribers to its Notify STL platform. The tornado warning and upgraded alert went out at 2:38 p.m. on Friday, which triggered general alerts to cell phones in the area. Now, I did get an alert saying that there was going to be a tornado on my phone. Russell said that the city was also looking into complaints that some residents did not hear the outdoor sirens, but noted that the sirens are generally meant for people outside, not inside. That's interesting because if you get hit by a tornado, of course, people outside are going to be tremendously affected by it, but also people on the inside. Tornadoes tear down buildings, trees, people get trapped in their homes. You're supposed to go down to a basement or go into a bathroom for protection. So the sirens need to be heard inside and outside. Aides to Spencer's office said after Monday's news conference that SEMA's staff was in emergency response training on Friday, the day of the tornado. And remember, SEMA is the City Emergency Management Agency. So you have the fire department and SEMA, the City Emergency Management Agency, and they were confused about who was supposed to draw the alert that the tornado was coming. And now Mayor Spencer is putting it in the authority of the fire department. However, Rasmus Jorgensen, a mayoral spokesperson, said that SEMA officials were available during the training. The problem was the protocol, which left it unclear who was responsible. Overnight curfews continue. Also at the news conference, police spokesman Mitch McCoy said an overnight curfew would continue on Monday for the fourth consecutive night. And they're talking about system versus situation, successful failures, delayed response, don't accept failure, understanding the risk and safety in emergency response, running the red, meaning emergency vehicle operations pitfalls. They said the curfew will be in place from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. in Police District 5 and 6, which includes parts of the city most affected by Friday's storm. Affected are parts of North St. Louis. The most affected areas were North St. Louis and the Central West End, and some nearby areas like Clayton. My father lives in the Central West End. I'm in the Central West End, and I have property in North St. Louis. McCoy said so far there have been no arrests for violating curfews. He said that there had been some very limited reports of looting, but that police hadn't confirmed that any looting actually took place, and that the National Guard may be sent out, which I think should be. Spencer also said the city is considering asking Governor Mike Kehoe to activate the Missouri National Guard to help the city deal with the aftermath of the tornadoes. He said city officials have been doing an assessment of everything that's needed to determine if the request should be made. She added that the city continues to work with the governor on trying to get the Federal Emergency Management Agency involved. That's FEMA. Our governor has been right by our side, Mayor Spencer said. So you got these agencies. So now FEMA may come into effect in this particular situation. But what many of the city residents who are in disarray may not know or be aware of, the city and the state has to dot their I's and cross their T's before the federal government comes in to provide aid. So that's why FEMA has not been involved in this yet. So there's going to be some logistics that are going to take place within the city and state confines, and then it should reach our federal government. And we shall see how this will take place. Now, of course, in the last year or so, you had Hurricane Helene in North Carolina that devastated that area with hurricane. You had the wildfires in California, in LA County, that decimated thousands of acres and multi-million-dollar homes. Just when you believe that man is the ruler of all earth, Mother Nature comes down and sheds his or her power to let us mortal human beings realize that we are not the most powerful force. And if you are a Bible reader, or you believe in God or a spiritual being, an existential spiritual being, think about it. Here recently in the United States of America, we've had 3 traumatic scenarios that have taken place that has caused major devastation that could be considered symbols of biblical prophecy. The North Carolina Hurricane Helene, that was water. The LA fires, that was fire. So you got water, fire, and then winds with the tornadic devastation that took place here in St. Louis. So we got water, wind, and fire. And of course, when those who are Bible readers, when they talk about the destruction of our wretched earth, it will come by those kinds of elements: fire, water, and wind. And who is in control of that? That is the ultimate question. And for those who are non-believers in some kind of spiritual entity or deity, if you go through this personally, you will have to take a deep, deep, soul-searching look, and you have to get on your knees and pray. So much of this is out of our human control when these kinds of forces that take place that is beyond our human recognition. Hopefully you will dig down into your faith and your humanity, and to help one, reach one, and teach one. When we talk about a communal spirit and helping each other, this is a time of need, not a time of greed, when we need to be here for our neighbors, our fellow citizens, and our family members. And if the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, any kind of religious connection that you have can help you get through it, this is the time for it. Not only have people lost their homes, there have been a number of deaths, but also we have to realize homelessness is already an issue in America. The opioid crisis is an issue. Untreated and undiagnosed mental illness is an issue. And these kinds of devastating scenarios, they don't do anything but exacerbate a weakening moral and ethical fabric that we already have in America. So if people are suffering from mental illness, this is going to be heightened when you realize that your home has been destroyed. You have no place to live. If one was bordering on homelessness, now you're definitely in a homeless situation. The city of St. Louis has reached out, and they are providing some kind of shelter and food for folks. But Power is out. Electrical lines are in the streets. Trees are all over the place that have been uprooted. Parked cars have been destroyed by trees. I've driven around and seen huge churches on Delmar and Union that have had their roofs completely removed. Apartment buildings that were housing 300 to 500 people have been boarded up and condemned. These individuals had to move out right away. You're talking about people in their 20s that are just getting their lives started with babies and infants, single folks who are transient from other cities. They're displaced. Where do they go? This is a complete debacle and a complete mess. When you're talking about chaos and disruption at its finest, this is what we're going through right now. And hopefully this will be a time of resilience, being prayerful, understanding that positivity overrules negativity. All of the inhumane things that human beings are doing to each other for unnecessary reasons needs to stop. Life is tough in and of itself. We don't need to make it any tougher. And so now you're seeing a scenario where we have to extend an olive branch and extend our hands and build a helping chain to help one another. I am very saddened by this situation. I have family here. My children are here. My dad lives here. My sister lives here with her children. And this has been a very devastating scenario. So for those, even though we know that the California wildfires were an issue, and of course the folks in North Carolina are still trying to recover, any olive branch that people across the country can extend to St. Louis residents, or if you have family here, reach out and find out what's going on. And if you can extend any help, please do so. This tornado caused over $1.6 billion worth of damage. We're talking 8,000 buildings that have been completely demolished, damaged, and destroyed. The three terrible D's. And hopefully this will also be a telltale sign and cautionary tale that we need to pay attention to our local politics. Let's see what Mayor Kara Spence, City Hall, our state government, Mike Kehoe, our state governor, Mike Kehoe, what they are all going to do to help and aid St. Louisans in this recovery process. And it's got to go way beyond just food and shelter. Hopefully there will be some checks being written, some grant money being given, not small SBA loans or short-term loans that are going to put people that are already disrupted and have been, that are poor and low income. The last thing they need is some more loans to pile on to already their depression and their destitute and their debt. We need a full restoration of grant money and fees to help restore these individuals back to a healthy state, physically, emotionally, residentially. This has been a very tough situation. Send your prayers out, help these folks. Hopefully, I don't blame Mayor Kara Spence for this scenario. She's the new mayor. Timing is mother for her to just get into office, and haven't been there but a month or two, and already she has to deal with a $1.6 billion or tornado devastation that has taken place right in her city. And she lives in the city, South City, which was not terribly damaged, thankfully. But this is right at her doorstep, right on her desk. And let's see what our aldermen, our alderwomen who represent us St. Louisans, our mayor, our city legislators, our state legislators, let's see how they're going to handle this situation and help restore St. Louis City back to a healthy, vibrant city that it has always been and needs to continue to be. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.